I promise you, I will not. I repeat, I will not be giving you the answer to the number one question asked by anyone and everyone who has ever kept a tropical aquarium in the history of keeping tropical aquariums. Not because I'm gatekeeping secrets from old school fish keeping forefathers from way back in the day, and not because I'm a vindictive a-hole. If you was wondering what the A stand in a-hole meant for, it stands for awesome. The reason why I'm not gonna spill the beans on the answer is simple. I can't. The reason why I can't is simple too. I don't really 100% know. And you wanna know something else? Nobody 100% really knows how many fish can fit in your aquarium. So all you gotta do is write, how many fish can I fit? Google's gonna assume, and the reason why it assumes is because so many people already asked the question that it kind of writes this out for you. How many fish can I fit in a 10-gallon tank, 5-gallon tank, 20-gallon tank, 75-gallon tank, 29-gallon, 3-gallon? How many fish can I fit in my tank? 50-gallon tank, 55, 30. See what I mean? It's probably the oldest subject and hardest subject to tackle in the hobby. The question, how many fish can fit in my 10, 20, 30, whatever gallon aquarium, that question, the answers have been debunked, but yet it hasn't really been definitively answered either by anybody definitively. See, the problem is it's very subjective, right? Any jabroni with a cell phone and a YouTube account, hopefully some experience in fish keeping, can go ahead and give out their guess. Because let's be real, it's really just an educated guess. I mean, okay, like in our defense, we're giving you our best guess. But at the end of the day, it's still just a guess. But what I am going to do is arm you with the right questions for you to ask yourself, and the self-confidence to be able to judge and make that decision on what's right for your aquarium, your family, and your fish. Let's start out with what's out there right now, right? 1 inch of fish for every gallon. So that means if you have 1 gallon, you can have 1 inch fish. So if you have a 10 gallon, you can have a 10-inch fish, right? That sounds silly. So we already know that's a whole lot of blah, blah, blah. It's not true. We know that's not true. Anyway, that's what's out there now, right? But what about for your tank? You're at the pet store. You're at the fish store, local fish store, pet store, whatever. And you're trying to figure out, you're asking the guy, hey, how many fish can I fit in my tank? I got this size tank. I got, and you're trying to ask this stranger who don't know you from Adam. They don't know what your tank is. They don't know what you got in it. They don't know nothing about you, your family, your wishes, your goals for this tank, your vision of what the end result's going to be. He don't know nothing about you or the tank, but you're asking him his opinion on what you should do for your stuff, right? Forget that. Let's go what you need to think about. You need to go, okay, what size tank do you have? Okay, you have X amount of gallons. All right. So will the fish fit in that amount of water with the existing fish you have? Okay, so now you have to think about the fish you have already, or the fish that you planned, your vision for the future of this tank. Second thing you have to think about is their kind of like their attitudinal issues. So I'm kind of gonna say what types of fish they are. Are you putting aggressive fish together? Because when you go with African cichlids, the whole idea of putting aggressive fish together so that it waters down the aggression, that comes into play. Some Central and South American fish, you can do that, but some of them you can't. Are you putting aggressive with semi-aggressive? Are you putting semi-aggressive with non-aggressive? It's all about what you're willing to risk as far as your money or your fish's lives are concerned. If you're willing to give it a shot in the spirit of experiment, then I'm saying go ahead. A lot of people are like, oh my God, you're experimenting with people's lives. Stop it, because we've all done it. We've all gave it a shot. See what happens. Every experienced fish keeper has done it, so why wouldn't we expect somebody else to do it so that they can experience for themselves? Give it a shot. It's all, you know what I mean? You can always do like, now I know you can't do that, right? How far are you willing to go to see if it's gonna work. When you're talking about aggression, you also have to think about, I hate the word decor. I think it's so pretentious, like decor. Look at the decor. So I'm a city kid, you know. We be like, yo, this place is dope. I like the way you got all your stuff in. It's all over the place. That's hot. We don't say decor where I'm from, so I'm gonna say like the environment that you provided for them. You know, the logs, the hiding spaces, whether it's real plants or artificial, whatever. You know what I mean? You can get away with putting a lot of fish in your aquarium if you have hiding spaces. You can get away with putting a lot of fish in your aquarium if you have zones. I did a video one time where I talked about angelfish and splitting up the tank so that, you know, fish can have their own separate zones, cutting off lines of sight so that just because, you know, fish can't just look at another. Sometimes a fish just be like, what? You looking at me? You know, just cutting off lines of sight. Decor will allow you to get away with adding more fish than maybe you would be able to get away with if you didn't have anything. A big one for me is filtration. Beneficial bacteria, to be more exact. Can your filtration handle the amount of fish you plan on putting in your aquarium? I mean, if you look on mostly any fish tubers video, I don't think anybody would ever say, hey, you don't need beneficial bacteria. Almost every fish tuber, regardless on how I might feel about them or you might feel, everybody's pretty much lockstep in the fact that a lot of beneficial bacteria is always good. A little bit of beneficial bacteria is no bueno. So the more fish you have, the more beneficial bacteria is necessary to sustain that. So regardless of how big your tank is, if you don't have the right amount of beneficial bacteria, you're gonna have issues. I love this one. This one is the funniest scenario that I see on a regular basis. So someone goes to a pet store, right? A fish store, local fish store, LFS, whatever. I love watching. I'll watch people at fish stores interact with other people all the time. You know, the employees interact with people all the time. So they'll go to a fish store, a local fish, whatever, and they'll say, I want that fish. And the employee will be like, what size tank you get? And the customer will say, I got, I don't know, a 20 gallon. And then the employee say, oh, well, that fish gets too big for your aquarium. Then the customer say, well, what size is it in now? Well, that's a 10 gallon. So now the customer's like, mother, so you see what I'm saying? The fact is, will an Oscar this big fit in your 10 gallon? Hell yeah, it will fit in your 10 gallon. For now, I'm never gonna tell nobody, no, you cannot do something. Because obviously you can put a bottle shark this big in a 10 gallon. But I will definitely hope that you are aware that it's not gonna stay that big. That little clown loach that you call Tigger, not gonna stay this big. That little silver dollar is not gonna stay that pacu is not gonna stay that big. What's another fish people get that don't really? That little freaking dojo loach. It's cute now, but it ain't gonna stay that cute. So that comes into the next scenario. Do you have a plan? Do I have another tank to put them in? Do I have a friend that takes fish? Can I bring them back to the fish store, the LFS, the pet store, whatever? Just make sure you have a plan. And of course, are you willing to get a bigger aquarium to accommodate these fish that get bigger? I am a firm believer in never telling people no. Instead of telling people no, give them options and set them up for success. Then they'll go bigger. Then they'll be one of us. We want more of us. We want to make everybody like us. I know a whole lot about fish. I have a whole lot of experience with aquariums. I don't know diddly squat about your fish or your fish tank, except for what you may tell me. No matter how much I know, you're the one responsible and the last person to have a say-so in what goes on in your aquarium.